We begin in Libya, where it's a little after 4 a.m. and forces loyal to Muammar Gaddafi are trying to take back control of the lost territory. On Thursday, there were more airstrikes in the oil-rich area of Brega, but they failed to dislodge opposition fighters who control it. Now, this comes as tens of thousands try to escape the unrest in Libya. Tony Bertley sent us this report from Benghazi.
A few possessions in their bags and the clothes on their backs. Migrant workers in Libya on the move, looking to escape somebody else's conflict. These feel destitute and abandoned. The lucrative jobs in an oil-rich country lost in the uprising. At the docks in Benghazi Thursday, yet another boat stands by to collect its human cargo. This time, 600 Syrians board the Captain Abdullah. But in recent days, vessels from China, Vietnam and Europe have come to collect its nationals.
أكيد شعور جميل يعني حدا ماشي على بلده بيكون شعوره جميل شعور جميل.
We've been here for 3 days, he says. It feels very good to go. At the peak, up to 10 boats a day were setting sail from here, with migrants desperate to flee the danger. More than 30,000 migrant workers have left from this port in the last week. The exodus is slowing, but still they're coming. Countries from all over the world have remembered their nationals, but there are a few, that have been forgotten. In a camp the other side of the harbour, the foreign workers who can't get out, either because they have no money or their governments don't care.
Many country people here, Indian, China, Turkey, but all people go back. But our Prime Minister is no helping.
They survive because of handouts and donations from Libyans, but it's a basic existence. The problems for these men are compounded by the fact they haven't been paid by their company, and that's hurting their families back home.
In some cases, literally dropped everything, including their documents in some cases. So they're travelling home empty-handed. Many through remittances are supporting quite sizable families back home. And so it's going to have a huge knock-on effect.
There are more than 2,500 migrant workers here and another 1,000 in nearby camps, but that's what they know. It's estimated that the figure is much higher, perhaps by 3 or 4 times. Many workers, especially those from Africa, feel frightened.
Some of us, we are surviving. Some of us, we are dead now. Right now, we are looking for the solution.
That solution is being provided by international organisations now arriving in Benghazi. Most in this camp will be repatriated in the coming days or weeks, but there are still pockets of Indians, Filipinos and Africans unaccounted for, and for now there is nothing to do but wait and hope the violence doesn't return. Tony Bertley, AlJazeera, Benghazi.
One of Gaddafi's sons, Saif al-Islam, has been the public face of the regime since the unrest began. He has accused the international media, including AlJazeera, of blowing the crisis out of proportion. In an interview with Anita McNaught, he repeated the allegation, claiming the West was trying to take over Libya's oil.
We have money in Switzerland. It's a joke. Please, come on. We are not kids. Stop fooling us. We have no money outside. You know, they failed. Come on.
That's just one. That's just one.
Give me
of the problem.
A single evidence that show me my our bank accounts. Show me. Second,
the bank
show
accounts.
Me that. No. Show
but
me.
That's the least of your problems. Your diplomatic immunity has been taken away. You can't even travel
listen,
like you used to.
The West, we know them very well. When you are strong, you know, they run after you. They are like, you know, they're like cats. If you are weak, they want to be like tigers. We know this game. We tried them for a long time. We know them for a long time. The West, the Americans, the NATO. Come on, we don't pay attention to them. Please, come on. We know the organized media campaign against Libya. We know this very well. This country will survive. I know they want to split the country. They want to destroy it. They want to control its assets. It's a very rich country, small population. This will not happen. So we tell those people, be happy. This will never ever happen because the Libyan people are so united. And please wait for surprises.
And you can watch Anita McNaught's interview with Saif al-Islam Gaddafi in full at 15:30 GMT on Friday. That's Talk to Al Jazeera at 15:30 GMT later on Friday. Well, Libya's crisis is having a significant impact on oil prices worldwide. The country is Africa's largest single holder of oil reserves, but it isn't just cuts in the supply to global markets that's a concern. As Tim Friend reports, Libya's political future could also suffer from a damaged oil industry.
With a protracted fight in prospect, the crisis over Libyan oil grows by the hour. It's Africa's largest single holder of reserves. Officials, Gaddafi loyalists, admit production is half the normal output of 1.6 million barrels a day. The reality is it's probably been slashed by 2/3. And because Libya relies on oil exports for much of its income, a damaged oil industry would radically slow up post-conflict recovery. So how bad is it? Around 80% of the proven oil reserves are located in and around the Sirte Basin, which includes much of the fighting. Oil has reportedly stopped flowing at the Nafura oil field. The El Bouri oil field off Libya's western coast is the country's largest producing oil field, where production is also affected. Other key areas include the Al Hamra fields and the Mazouk Basin in the south. There, production is continuing as normal, according to the Spanish operator Repsol. Once produced, the crude is piped to the main terminal points for export. Libya exports its light crude from 6 major terminals. 5 of those are located in the east, which has mostly fallen into rebel hands. The Libyan Air Force has bombed the oil terminal town of Brega as pro-Gaddafi troops try to recapture the key port. At the Brega oil facility, production has been slashed and there are few employees left.
It's really the source of government revenue for Libya. I think it's well above 90% of the actual export revenue which the government can collect, which comes from crude and gas and so on. So any kind of future government of Libya will need the hydrocarbon production.
The head of the National Oil Corporation refuses to give any figures on current production levels, but says oil production has halved because foreign workers, most of them technicians, have fled the fighting. He says none of the country's oil installations have been damaged and that Libya is continuing to produce and export. But oil companies can no longer rely on Libyan supplies and will look elsewhere. Tankers at Libyan ports have been demanding $50,000 a day, triple the normal rate. If the crisis persists, supply cuts to world markets could push oil above $130 a barrel within 4 weeks. Tim Friend, AlJazeera.
David Weiss is the chief economist with Standard & Poor's and joins me now from New York. Thanks very much for talking to us. Now, that report there gave us a view of how much Libya's oil supplies have been dented. How much would you say on a global scale oil supplies have been hit?
Well, so far, really very little. We've lost maybe 1 million barrels from Libya, but some of that looks like it's probably going to be offset by increases in production from Saudi Arabia. But the disruption in flow obviously causes some short-term problems, and in the longer run, obviously, if this spreads